In this lecture, I'll be talking about null and alternative hypotheses, and I'm going to start off with an example. School District A states that its high schools have an 85% passage rate on the high school exit exam. A new school was recently opened in the district, and it was found from a sample of 150 students that they had a passage rate of 88% with a standard deviation of 4%. The question is, does this new school have a different passage rate than the rest of the schools in School District A? Now, when we do hypothesis testing, what we're really doing is testing claims. Like for this question, we're testing the claim that students at the new school have a passage rate that is different from the 85% that we would expect. While it would seem obvious that 88% is different from 85, remember when I talked about sampling error? This is a small sample taken from an entire population, so the mean of 88% that we've calculated might not be entirely accurate. That's why we're going to do hypothesis testing to find out if this school is really different from what we expect it to be. Now, the first type of hypothesis is the null hypothesis. That's going to be represented usually by HO or H0. What this is the assumption you're beginning with, or basically the opposite of what you're testing. Remember, we're beginning with the assumption that the school will be at 85%. And also, we're testing to see if it's different from 85%. So the opposite of that would be if it's the same. So we're going to start with the assumption that it will be 85%. And then we have the alternative hypothesis, which is represented by H1 here, and sometimes you might see HA instead of H1. That is the claim that you're testing. In this case, we're testing to see if the school has a passage rate that is different than 85%. We're going to try to find evidence which shows that the null hypothesis is untrue. If this evidence exists, we can reject the null hypothesis and say that the alternative hypothesis is true. If we cannot find this evidence, we will continue on with the assumption that the null hypothesis is true. So for this example, for the null and the alternative hypotheses, the null hypothesis H0 is that the mean is equal to 85%. We're going to start off with the assumption that this new school has the passage rate of 85%, just like every other school in the district. And our alternative hypothesis, H1, is that the mean is not equal to 85%. The claim that we're testing is that this new school may have a passage rate that is different from the expected 85%. So that is hypothesis testing with null and alternative hypotheses.